the sheer numbers of individuals who are beginning to pay attention is encouraging, and although the interpretation of events may vary, it provides an avenue for a constructive discussion among those who frequent the Skywatch Media channel and our social media sites. The events happening at this time provide a universal awakening to those who have sat idly by, refusing to acknowledge what their own eyes have shown them. It is the beginning of a great transformation, the same transformation spoken of by ancient civilizations in their texts and in their inscriptions portraying the events of their time. If you remember, I indicated that the best way to determine if something is approaching us is to carefully observe the changes in the weather, the intensity and frequency of seismic activity, and the severity of volcanic eruptions. All of these are signs given to us that provide insight into what is happening to our planet, and they can also signify what is likely happening to the other planets within our solar system. These are the signs that will usher in the beginning of the period of tribulation. 2017 has so far proven to be a year that will dramatically change our concept of life and the frailty of human existence on the planet that we call home. The climate is changing in ways that even scientists do not fully understand. If you look at what is happening with the weather in various parts of the world, it certainly looks like its implications are very disturbing. These unprecedented weather events indicate that something yet unexplained is happening in our atmosphere and with our jet stream. The constant unpredictability of our weather patterns would suggest that the Earth's axis is shifting in such a way that we may soon encounter a magnetic pole shift, which scientists admit is a very real probability. But it appears that there is much more to this story than what is being told. There are indications that the Earth's crust is also slipping, with dramatic changes occurring to the ice shelf on the Antarctic continent. On January 22nd, a massive earthquake shook near New Guinea, with preliminary measurements of 8.4 by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which were later downgraded by the USGS to 8.0. An earthquake of this intensity should warrant major media headlines, but like other recent events of this nature, very little significant information has been forthcoming from the major news outlets by those who control mainstream media. If someone proclaims that they saw something very strange in the sky, then it makes no sense to tell them there is nothing to see or that it doesn't exist. This is a tactical maneuver to keep the public from learning the truth. It's called the power of persuasion. So when you are told by skeptics that your image or your video is ludicrous or fabricated, remember the simple rules of observation. Not all eyewitness sightings are mere apparitions or an imaginary presence, and not all photographs or video footage is merely showing a reflection, a lens flare, or a false impression. There are many mysteries on this planet and across our universe that cannot be explained in scientific terms because they defy the explanation of science. Even the power of persuasion cannot outmaneuver the power that has been manifest in the heavens. It's a power that is being felt across the planet, as evident by the disturbing events that are taking place worldwide. The visibility of Nibiru and the Nemesis binary system has increased dramatically just in the past few years. It has increased in size, which indicates it is getting closer, and it is now changing the dynamics of our atmosphere and has altered the magnetic field that surrounds our planet. As you can imagine, the gravitational effects of a sizable planet moving closer to the inner solar system would spell big trouble for planet Earth. We are now witnessing the are reshaping this planet. As the magnetic core heats up and the Earth's orbit slows down, thus creating a blending of our seasons. As you continue to discover the wonders and mysteries that are there for you to see, keep in mind that it is NASA themselves who have continuously discovered something new in the universe that was previously unthinkable. It was just recently that they found a binary solar system. It is this discovery that could very well explain the Earth's wobble, which is still a scientific mystery waiting to be resolved. We also know that astronomers say a Neptune-sized planet lurks beyond Pluto. Therefore, we should keep an eye out for a blue star that will appear in the sky. As it turns out, a number of skywatchers have already seen this star and have recorded its presence. Consider this. 7,200 years ago, during the cataclysm known as Noah's Flood, storms and water avalanches from Antarctica broke off from their ice prison. Dr. John T. Holen at Maine University considers that large pieces periodically came out of the Antarctic ice field, creating a huge tide. Does the sudden collapse of the Antarctic ice sheet, which is showing signs of happening at this time, give credence to this educator's hypothesis? 3,600 years ago, during the Jews' exodus from Egypt, in the middle of the second millennium BC, the Earth suffered big cataclysms. According to Immanuel Velikovsky's Worlds in Collision, a celestial body that recently entered our solar system, a new comet, came very close to Earth, causing the eventual disappearance of the glacier layer. Our years of research and observation indicates that something is in the process of changing the very makeup of our solar system and affecting the orbit of the planets, which thus creating atmospheric changes, which lead to more earthquakes, more volcanic eruptions, and more extreme weather events. The effects of its passover will be long-lasting and will change the very fabric of our civilization going forward. This is the long-term analysis of what can be expected to occur as the binary star system continues its extended journey across our solar system. There is also the concern of what can happen in the short term as the Nibiru Nemesis debris field expands, carrying with it enormous asteroids and comet fragments that have the potential to be catastrophic if they impact the Earth. In the waning days of President Obama's administration, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy released a National Near-Earth Object Preparedness Strategy. The strategy outlines major goals the country will have to take to prepare to meet the NEO threat. Most of us remember movies such as Deep Impact and Armageddon. They attempted to depict what such a crisis would look like. But until fairly recently, the U.S. government never seemed to take this kind of threat very seriously and has taken a series of measures over the past couple of years to help prepare us for incoming meteors and asteroids. In 2016, they founded a Planetary Defense Coordination Office to detect potentially destructive NEOs. Immediately thereafter, they coordinated with FEMA to begin preparedness drills for such an event. In addition, they launched spacecraft to gather asteroid information. In the typical response to the announcement of a new asteroid agency, NASA insists there is no imminent danger to our planet. But if we are to believe their analysis of the dangers that we face, then why spend so much time and resources on a non-existent crisis? I have listed here the 7-point plan that has been implemented in our defense of potential NEOs. There was also a link provided that had outlined the 25-page document recently released by the White House, which I've shown here. But unfortunately, that web page has apparently been removed and is no longer available. We do know, however, that the document was put together by the Interagency Working Group for Detecting and Mitigating the Impact of Earthbound Near-Earth Objects. Just recently, a very large asteroid barely missed us, and we had only discovered it 2 days earlier. Early in the morning, while most of us were preparing our day's activities, a space rock as big as a 10-story building slipped past Earth. The asteroid, dubbed 2017 AG-13, was discovered only 2 days earlier by the University of Arizona's Catalina Sky Survey. This according to an email from SLU, a company that broadcasts live views of space. We were very fortunate this time, but the truth is that our planet is now crossing paths with other giant space rocks on a frequent basis. In fact, a near-Earth object that is being called a cross between an asteroid and a comet was detected by NASA in late November of 2016 and has left scientists scratching their heads. They have described the celestial rock as a cross between an asteroid and a comet. It's in the middle of its 4.9-year orbit between Jupiter and Earth and will approach us on February 25th, flying by at a distance of 32 million miles from our planet, this according to NASA. Here is the stumbling block when it comes to believing and accepting what we are being told by space professionals. It is a flip of the coin on who is telling the truth. Many space scientists assure us that a large meteor or asteroid will at some point in time impact the Earth. It cannot be avoided. Contrary to their statements, NASA assures us that there is nothing to worry about. But apparently their statements lack reassurance, as others are concerned that something may be coming toward us or that we are moving toward something. Their concerns are well noted. If we accept our instincts and observations of a sky that appears to be folding, bringing the planets in the constellations of our solar system ever closer to one another, this is a troubling concept of reality, but it now appears to be happening. What we must remember if we truly desire to grasp what is happening is that we are a mere speck of dirt moving at incredible speed through a massive galaxy of time and space, which further extends into an endless and ever-changing universe. The world was created for our benefit, as a place of protection by a higher entity. But we were given the responsibility of being good stewards of the earth. But in our quest for riches and material well-being, we have failed in that mission. And like everything in life, there are consequences for our actions and our deeds. Relative calm and peace on the earth. But as this generation passes away, the inhabitants of the new millennia will inherit what the ancients had warned will come to pass, a time of great trouble and turmoil. There is something very strange that is happening within the earth that has the scientific community very worried. There is concern that the coming year may herald in a time of great seismic and volcanic unrest, unlike anything this generation has witnessed. Much of what we know today paints a bleak picture for humanity. The Earth's atmosphere, its oceans, its land masses, and all manner of wildlife now lie in the balance. There is a time when the Earth must take back all that it has given, a time of renewal. And so it has begun. The theory that something is pulling and tugging at the Earth's magnetic field is not an idea that is far-fetched. It is ingrained in scientific analysis and study. If you were to believe that the sun, in all its powerful grandeur, is capable of influencing the behavior of the Earth and the sustainability of life, then we must also consider the probability that other forces outside the realm of our knowledge and understanding may actually be determining the behavior of the Earth. As remote as it may seem to some, the unrest that is developing today, especially in the vulnerable regions of the Pacific Ring of Fire, may be attributed to the proximity of Planet X to the Earth. NASA still claims that this theory is unfounded, regardless of their continued discovery of new planets and a solar system in our backyard. What is so disheartening about the increase in seismic and volcanic activity is that scientists are hard-pressed to find an explanation for the current wave of activity. They just cannot admit to the probability of something outside of the norm as being responsible for these events. There are a number of reports that recently surfaced that provide some insight into the trouble we are facing in the next few years. Here are some of the more troubling observations that provide a clear picture of what I am referring to. Off the coast of the Antarctic Peninsula is a landmass called Deception Island. On this island lurks a flooded caldera of an active volcano, which is home to more than 50 volcanic craters. New research indicates that if a significant ash eruption occurred here, it would disrupt air traffic across much of the southern hemisphere. That includes South America, Africa, and Australia. Now, as remote as this volcano may seem, it could have an effect across much of the world. In fact, Deception Island has a unique history of eruptions, with 30 explosions occurring in the past 10,000 years, and the most recent having occurred in 1970. So it is common knowledge that an enormous ash cloud would have the potential to disrupt or even shut down air traffic.
Not far from Naples, Italy, lies a volcano named Campi Flegrei. For the past 60 years, it has been showing signs of a major magmatic eruption. And this sign, like seismic activity, land deformation, and gas chemistry, has been accelerating since 2012. This video simulation shows what an incoming eruption could resemble. If it were to erupt, there are some 1 million people living in proximity to the volcano that would be forced to evacuate. In the worst-case scenario, Naples, which is one of the most important areas for European culture in the last 1,000 years, could suffer the same fate of Pompeii. The prognosis of such an eruption is not pretty, as a cataclysmic blast from this volcano would be devastating. If we go back in history some 200,000 years ago, this supervolcano blackened the skies of the entire planet, causing a worldwide volcanic winter and nearly wiping out all life on Earth. A large rogue entity lurking somewhere in our solar system would have an electromagnetic effect on the Sun, and therefore on planet Earth. Its presence would heat the core and cause the displacement of magma. In August of this year, the eclipse that traversed the United States became the harbinger for the arrival of Planet X. These and other theories of a wandering body were given a boost in October when NASA announced the discovery of a new planet in our solar system. After many years of denying and debunking, scientists confirmed the existence of a ninth planet that conforms to popular theories of a planet named Nibiru. On October 4th, NASA published a press release stating that it had discovered unmistakable evidence of a ninth planet in the far extremes of space, orbiting the solar system. The planet is surmised to be 10 times the mass of Earth, but it has yet to be seen since its elliptical orbit is estimated to be about 60 billion miles from the Sun. The description of the new planet conforms so closely to the predictions of Nibiru that NASA was forced to release a cosmic disclaimer, claiming that the object will never collide with the Earth or bring days of darkness. Even the head researcher, astronomer Mike Brown, was compelled to tweet a dismissal of the Nibiru theory.
They are no longer arguing about the existence of Planet X, only about its name and what to call it. The reason behind this alleged deception is clear. NASA is trying to avoid generating panic. They haven't sighted the new planet yet, so it is impossible for them to know if its orbit will intersect with the Earth's orbit. There is a bit of speculation regarding the origin of the newly discovered Planet 9. It may be a refugee from the solar system, or it may be a rogue from the outer realms that was captured by the sun's gravity. But one thing is clear. You do not need a scientific mind to understand what is going on here, and something very serious is definitely happening. The elements of nature, as well as the actions of humanity, are transforming the Earth as we know it. With these changes comes the discovery of new planets in our solar system that are intended to usher in a new age. We are seeing the effects of these wandering bodies all across the world. Whether you accept the theory that a mysterious electromagnetic influence is to blame, the world is witnessing an epidemic of seismic activity. In the last 30 days, California has had more than 700 tremors. Yellowstone has had one of its most active seismic cycles in recorded history, with nearly 2,500 events since June of 2017. Mexico was hit by 2 devastating earthquakes in the same month, in September of this year. Not long ago, the border between Iraq and Iran suffered a 7.4 magnitude quake, the most powerful earthquake to hit the region in recorded history. All of these events point to something happening that even scientists are hard-pressed to explain. A few years ago, in 2011, Japan was hit by one of the most powerful earthquakes and devastating tsunamis to hit the region in many generations. Scientists are now warning that a massive earthquake and tsunami will hit the highly populated areas of Japan, including Tokyo, in our near future, an event that could strike without sufficient preparations being met. Because of this terrifying prospect, the Prime Minister has advised all citizens to be calmly but appropriately afraid. But how can a person be calm and fearful at the same time? These are separate emotions, and much like the calm before the storm, once the storm hits, then fear of what to expect and what to do begins to set in. What they should be appropriately fearful of is that Japan sits upon some of the biggest fault lines on the planet. And if an 8 or a 9 magnitude megaquake were to occur, it would wipe out the industrial heartland of this country, which in turn would severely affect.
Much like the increase in fissures and cracks that are draining rivers and ponds in many locations worldwide, Earth scientists and geologists are unable to explain what caused this recent event. The ground of the river suddenly surged upwards more than 2 feet, killing hundreds of fish and terrifying local residents. Something very unusual is happening here that even officials do not understand. The unexplained elevation of the riverbed was preceded by an immense groaning noise, as reported by fishermen who witnessed the event. Smoke was then seen coming out of the cracks, as pictured here. On December 2nd, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology noted the probability of an earthquake, although no earthquakes were actually recorded in that area. Another hypothesis for the sudden rise was the buildup of methane gas due to decomposition. However, the investigators indicated that the incident was not related to the nearby Mount Canleon, which is presently in a Category 2 alert status. Whatever is causing this has the residents terrified and the officials baffled, and no one seems to have a concrete explanation. If Planet X is having an effect on the Earth's seismic and volcanic activity, then it must be on the move and close enough to the Earth to create a gravitational pull. But when will Planet X actually arrive? In theory, it is impossible to set an exact date for its arrival. Some have foolishly tried, but to no avail. Its arrival is not on our timetable. Planet X is a system that is accompanied by 7 orbital bodies. Every one of these 7 bodies has a unique orbit, and Nibiru itself has a unique path. No one can predict all of their paths and how they will affect this world. When people mix truth with lies, predicting a date that is unfounded, it leads people to believe that everything associated with this passage is fabricated. If we were to envision an apocalyptic eruption of Mount Agung, which is presently on high alert, it would probably come as no surprise to the Hindus of Bali, who revere the mountain and consider it to be sacred. It is on the slopes of this sacred place that the end of days will play out, when the skies will darken with dust and ash. Experts who study the Earth's geological features are predicting that we are entering into a period of upheaval, a time of increased seismic and volcanic unrest. The effects of an incoming celestial presence has begun. We see it happening in Bali and all over the world. The Earth is heating up, and there are many more earthquakes in recent times than ever before. In addition to the changes happening on Earth, in our atmosphere the radiation is increasing, which is having a profound effect on the planet. Cosmic rays from deep space are increasing almost unabated as the sun's magnetic field weakens. If you follow the media narrative on what is happening in the stratosphere, the reason that the radiation is increasing is entirely due to the sun entering into a solar minimum, a period in the sun's 11-year cycle where cosmic ray intensity is much higher. The narrative would have you believe that increased seismic and volcanic activity can be attributed to the increase in cosmic rays as a result of decreased solar activity. The problem with this narrative is that it does not explain why earthquake activity has been on a significant upward trend since 1965, or why the Ring of Fire unrest was beginning to peak long before the solar minimum kicked into gear. Furthermore, it does not take into account that the Earth is reeling like a drunken sailor, causing the oceans to quickly retreat and then return with a fury weeks later. All the while, the Earth's jet stream is moving erratically, causing the world's climate to shift into a state of chaos. These are events that are not directly related to the behavior of our sun, but are attributed to a yearly increase of cosmic rays that are coming from space, which in turn has caused an increase in radiation levels, as shown for 2017. In November, a report by the International Business Times indicated that mysterious cosmic rays are slamming the Earth, and that scientists do not know their origin. The cosmic rays, known as positrons, are powerful particles that can result in the production of energy, including gamma rays. According to a study published in the journal Science, these particles are exotic in nature, which hints that they may actually be coming from a dark star. So if we are to consider the narrative that the Earth is being blasted by cosmic rays from our inactive sun, then we must also consider the report which indicates that cosmic rays from somewhere beyond our sun are suddenly hitting the Earth in great numbers. We are standing at the doorstep of a great transformation as we prepare for the earth changes that are ahead of us. I cannot stress nearly enough how virtually important it is for each man, woman, and child to prepare themselves both physically and spiritually for the time of tribulation which has already begun. It is a time to come out of the dark, where confusion and uncertainty loom over us, and enter into the light with a watchful eye and a prayerful heart. Disinformation is as old as history itself. Regardless of what may be happening on earth, there will be no advanced warning, and it will come in bits and pieces, until which time there will no longer be any doubt. The discovery of new cosmic worlds near our solar system gives credence to the prophecy which says that a new star will appear, which will cause the waters to come up from the ground and the mountains to spew up fire and ash. Some people...
In the distance I heard the words, "Shalom, Benjamin. Benjamin, wake up." My eyes opened the moment I was called. The angel of God spoke, "My name is Raphael, prophet of God. You know me. I am sent to you in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Follow me now." I got up from my bed and followed the messenger angel of God down the stairs, through the door and into the street. We stood still in the middle of the intersection of the street, near our house. The angel of God spoke, "The God of Isaac, Jacob, and Abraham allows you a glimpse into the future, at what will come to pass very soon." The messenger angel of God held in his right hand a sort of golden shepherd's crook, and stuck it upright in the ground, and spoke, "Thus there will be many earthquakes like this one." At the moment that the rod penetrated right through the asphalt, the road began to crack and to vibrate. The ground was moving violently. Simultaneously I heard a trumpet sound which persisted, an all-pervading sound that I could even feel vibrating through my mind, and it filled the airspace as meanwhile all kinds of things took place. I saw, as in slow motion, all kinds of people in the air, and even babies and people with disabilities. And also animals were going up in the air. I saw dogs and cats, and even marmots, large and small animals. All that I was seeing amazed me, and went far beyond my understanding. The messenger angel of God spoke further. "Benjamin, God is saying the same words as in the days of Noah." Genesis 9, verse 12. "And God said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature with you for all generations." I asked, "To whom is this further revealed?" The messenger angel of God said, "Only to Benjamin, from the tribe of Benjamin. You are truly the prophet of God of the last days." Immediately during the rapture, I saw a kind of lightning which filled the entire sky. I also heard wailing and crying everywhere. The messenger angel of God spoke, "Benjamin, it will be just like it is written in Exodus 12, verse 30. There it is written, 'And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead.'" Then I said, This I understand, but that there will be a death. A heart will have as much grief as with the loss of their loved one. I get it, I said. I saw all sorts of things falling from the sky, a helicopter that uncontrollably circled downwards. Also a plane fell from the sky. I saw fireballs coming down, which struck everywhere, in the roofs and streets. Fires arose everywhere. It looked like a war. Derailed trams and cars with people, but without drivers, crashed into each other. It was complete chaos. I saw several large and small UFOs in the air. They virtually stood still, and I said, "Look, Raphael! These are the visitors from space. This is what the fallen angels call themselves." I was shocked by rocky stones that fell from the sky. Some were on fire and others were not. They were slightly larger than a football and struck everywhere and caused fire. I also saw all kinds of strange satellites falling from the sky. The messenger angel spoke further and said, "Benjamin, fear not, this must yet come to pass." I also felt a kind of magnetic pressure, as if everything was magnetic, as if I was pushed to all sides by some sort of air pressure. Even cars were moved sideways by this pressure. I understood that all this will happen immediately just after the rapture, when Christians have been gathered by God, the God of Isaac, Jacob and Abraham. I saw a blood-red moon, which looked badly damaged with holes, where bright light came through it. The sun was shining very bright, and the heat was unbearable. Also I heard and saw someone who cursed, but I could not understand it. I think the angel of God had made what he said unintelligible. Then he shouted, irritated and loudly, "Rosh Hashanah!" The angel of God said, "The people will really have hell on earth, for the worst is still to come to those left behind. Benjamin, you have spoken so much on behalf of God, but some people think that you give a study, and they don't even see that everything is prophetically foretold, and even in the scriptures. But God points out everything is directly spoken to you, and everything shall come to pass. I am who I am, thus speaks the God of Israel. I'll bring you back now, Benjamin." And the messenger angel of God said, "Repent, you who are listening to this message, and surrender yourself to Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, and you will be there where your heart, mind, soul, and body are full of. He who does not want to hear will perish. Ruacha Yeshu Shalom, Emmanuel," spoke the messenger angel of God, and disappeared.
Lord, please protect us. This is currently what's happening right now. We are driving in Eisner, and I don't know, they want us to turn around. We can't go further because
At least 8 people are dead in Cape Town, South Africa, and what is being called, quote, the mother of all storms by South African local media. 4 of the victims died in a fire that was caused by lightning, and authorities reported thousands have been evacuated as winds fanned fires and flash flooding hit neighborhoods hard. The rain did bring some relief to the region where drought has been intense. And check this out. High waves churned up sea foam along Cape Town's waterfront.
Psalm 107, 33 and 34. He turns rivers into a wilderness, and the water springs into dry ground, a fruitful land into barrenness, for the wickedness of those who dwell in it.
rare tornado whipping through a Canadian town. Take a look at this time-lapse footage capturing the tornado north of Calgary. No one was injured and damage was contained to one rural property. Canada averages just 80 tornadoes per year, so this was pretty rare, while the U.S. reports some 1,300.
Ya no pasa nada. Pero mira cómo estamos desde el cielo. Miren el iris. No, se fue para allá, mamá.
As the world continues to spin out of control, we can no longer afford to ignore the truth. Almighty God, the creator of heaven, earth, and all things, is trying to get our attention. He is letting us know, through powerful weather catastrophes and the events happening in the world around us, that He is in control. And He is preparing to intervene in world affairs, climaxing in the return of Jesus Christ.
Widespread disruption on the island, people trapped in mountainous areas. Heavy rain, which began on Friday, continues to inundate Taiwan, with precipitation in some areas reaching 600 millimeters. Thousands of people had to be relocated to temporary shelters. Countless homes have been left without power and water. Hundreds of flights were canceled or delayed, and schools were closed. The losses in the agriculture industry have already reached $660,000, leading the price of vegetables to rise 30%. It's predicted to rise even more. One woman and her grandchild were trapped in the heavy rain. In just a few minutes, the water level rose waist high. Despite holding her grandchild tightly, the two of them couldn't stand still and fell into the water stream. Luckily, a rescue team arrived in time. A torrential rain warning has been issued for Luckily, the southwestern airstream is likely to leave on Sunday.
But I do want to know what's coming. I used to search for new Nibiru videos every week till I gave up. It was always the same old videos copied or renamed. Are videos with misleading titles and photos offering no proof. Since videos on Nibiru are so disappointing, I decided to make my first documentary video. All you need to know about Nibiru in 10 minutes, 18 months ago. Actually, that is what started the channel you're watching now. Since I am not a scientist nor an alien, there is nothing my video can offer that you cannot find with a thorough web search. However, before my research, if you would have asked me then if I think there is really a planet X, I would have said no. But if you ask me now, my answer will be yes. I believe there is a Nibiru in our solar system. Let me show you why. Originally, I didn't see how a huge planet, 4 times the size of Jupiter, can exist in our solar system without us knowing. But that is before I learned about TNO. Before I did extensive research on ancient prophecies, which, believe it or not, collaborated somehow. Let me put it this way. You may not recognize Nibiru when it comes, and the visit may be different from what you expected. But believe me, there is a Nibiru out there in our solar system. For people who are new to this Planet X Nibiru theory, pick 3,600-year orbit. It is called the Destroyer Planet, as when it comes, it will bring destruction and possibly the Doomsday. Wait, if Doomsday comes every 3,600 years, how come we're still here? Think about it this way. Many comets pass by our sun regularly. How many of them hit planets? The last and only one I remember was the Shoemaker-Levy 9 hitting Jupiter in July 1994. So maybe Nibiru's last flyby was harmless last time. But we may not be likely so lucky next time. Before jumping to any conclusions we cannot sustain, let me bring you another popular Nibiru theory. The planet Nibiru of Nemesis. Nemesis is supposedly our sun's brown dwarf twin. The theory was first introduced in 1984, largely based on the Earth's mass extension 26 million years cycle.
An evil twin 1.5 light years away, hidden beyond the Oort cloud, would be a perfect suspect. If Nibiru is a planet of Nemesis, it could explain how its occupants survived 3,600 years without a sun. Nemesis is Nibiru's travel companion and its portable generator. When the theory was introduced in 1984, it made great sense, and at that time, scientists believed that most stars are binary. Obviously, our sun should not be an exception. However, scientists have determined that mass extinction happens more like every 50 million years. And two mass astronomical surveys, which ran from 1997 to 2001, failed to detect any brown dwarf in our solar system. While in 2011, NASA's David Morrison, who specializes in near-Earth objects, concluded that even with infrared exist. Of course, that is if you believe in what NASA tells you. However, not finding any proof of Nibiru nor Nemesis does not mean they do not exist. Plus, how do you know if you were told the truth? What do you think the government should do if they think the world will end tomorrow? Obviously, telling you will not be on the top of the list. They will build a bunker and plan shelters for people that may survive the doomsday Earth. And to avoid chaos, it is wise not to share the doomsday news with anyone. Plus, who can know for certain what will happen, right? If you think the government will always do the right thing, let me tell you what Nostradamus thought about that. In Quatrain 227, quote, "The divine word will be struck from the sky, one who cannot proceed any further. The secret closed up with the revelation, such that they will march over and ahead." If you have any doubts about Nostradamus' prophecies, check out some of my Nostradamus videos. When I compared his quatrains with historical events, I was shocked to find the unbelievable details revealed. Check out any of my videos and you will doomsday century. This quatrain seems to indicate that our government would get warnings from the sky, which can be divine or from aliens. The message warns us, do not proceed. It is a secret that will be kept from most of us. But the warnings were probably ignored, as the last sentence stated, quote, "such that they will march over and ahead." Whatever the secret may be, it will be ignored, and we, mankind, will eventually face the consequences. So, if Nemesis does not exist and Nibiru is only a theory, why should we waste any more time talking about it? Actually, I think Nibiru does exist. It may be different from the mythical planet where Anunnaki reside, but it is there. Let me show you the proof about Nibiru's existence. Consider this. If you think the theory about Nibiru's 3,600-year orbit around the Sun is crazy, did you know Mars orbits the Sun every 687 days, but is already considered outside the Goldilocks zone that could harbor lives? What is the chance of life on Nibiru if Nibiru does exist? Plus, what is the chance of having a planet having a 3,600-year orbit? The good old days when textbooks told you everything you needed to know is long gone. Now the more we know we don't know. For example, when you search on the planet Eris, what you see is that it is called the most massive and second largest dwarf planet known in the solar system. The word known means that we really don't know what we're talking about. Pluto and Eris both are known dwarf planets, and Tino, the so-called trans-Neptunian objects, those are minor planets with highly elliptical orbits. And if you search Wikipedia for trans-Neptunian object, a section called Putative Trans-Neptunian Objects of Planetary Size will jump out at you. It states, the existence of trans-Neptunian rock ice bodies of planetary size, ranging from less than Earth mass up to a brown dwarf, has been often postulated. for different theoretical reasons to explain several observed or speculated features of the Kuiper Belt or the Oort cloud. It was recently proposed to use ranging data from the New Horizons spacecraft to constrain the position of such a hypothesized body. Putative means generally considered or reputed to be. Doesn't this sound like an endorsement from Wikipedia? I guess Nibiru is not all BS after all. Another reason I believe planet Nibiru is real is based on what scientists found in 2003. Sedna is a red dwarf. No, is its crazy orbit. Its aphelion, which is the closest distance from the Sun, is 76 AU, but its perihelion is 936 AU, and it takes 11,400 years to complete an orbit. During its 11,400-year journey around the Sun, we can only get a glance when it is near us. So, can you imagine how many more planets we have not seen? Can you imagine how big the others may be? Sedna's discovery proves Nibiru is not a myth. And then we found in 2014 FE72. It is another trans-Neptunian object, but this one has an orbit period of 90,000 years, with a perihelion of 36.3 AU and an aphelion of 4,000 AU. This really pushes our solar system's boundaries far beyond our imagination. Then the big question is, why would life choose to grow on a planet so far away from the Sun? Well, I guess we don't get to pick our birthplace, right? We have to adapt to our environment, correct? Plus, life may have started on a beautiful, friendly planet till the planet changed. For that, I will share with you another story we are all quite familiar with, the Shoemaker-Levy 9. Did you know before Shoemaker-Levy 9's impact with Jupiter, it was not orbiting the Sun? That is a fact few people know. The comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 was orbiting Jupiter before it got dangerously close and crashed. 2 years before impact, Shoemaker-Levy 9 was orbiting the Sun. A wrong place at the wrong time changed the comet's path and destiny. So, an advanced civilization may have been flourishing on Nibiru before the planet changed its course. Or maybe Nibiru was pulled away by another star. Maybe it is our Sun's binary twin. Its advanced technology made it possible to cope with whatever harsh environment, and its residents refused to leave home. Scientists feel the chance of our Sun having a twin star is slim. But what gravity forces keep these minor planets circling our Sun and something else on these elliptical orbits? There must be another massive body on the other end. Remember, we can only see them when they are close to us. Can you imagine how many more are out there that we have not seen? If the Earth has survived till today, why should we worry? Even if there are 1 million Nibirus out there, they probably won't come closer than Pluto, right? That may be right, but since we know so little, we have to rely on people who know more, and that is the problem. We have found so many new planets and new stars. Who will know what the next discovery may be? This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.